Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. I, Gamini Joshi, welcome you all to a second day lecture series that has been introduced by Gautam Buddha University. Today we will have a lecture on the topic that is the IoT security issues and its countermeasures. Uh, uh, So before starting our lecture, let's have an outline. What we will discuss in our complete lecture. These are the various outlines that we will start our lecture with an introduction of an IoT system, what an IoT network is and what are its different components. Then we will have an application of the IoT where the IoT has spread its wings, what are the different domains where IoT has covered. Then we will discuss what are the disasters that IoT has caused. Though IoT has helped in different domains, but there are certain disasters which has affected the human life as well as the economy of the system. Then what are the different attack surfaces, what are the solutions and the security mechanisms that are provided, and then we will conclude our sessions. So let's start with an introduction of an IoT system. What an IoT is. An IoT is a collection of billions of devices that connect, interact and share information with each other. Now all this is possible because of the ubiquity property of a wireless network where we can access, where we can share information anywhere, anytime, at any moment through the internet. So any object can be a part of a IoT system whenever a small sensor is embedded to it. A small sensor, or we can say it is a sensor, is a type of supercomputer, a cheap supercomputer which can easily be embedded to any device and which enables to communicate the information in the real-time data without any human intervention. So IoT has merged, we can say in a single line, we can define that IoT has merged the digital as well as the physical universe together. These, as in the screen, we can see these are the major components of the IoT systems. Components constitute of devices, gateway, cloud, analytic software, and the user interface. Things or the devices, these are actually the sensor device which collect all the minute data from the surroundings. Now the data collected can have different degree of complexity. It can be a simple data as well as it can be a complex data. So whatever present in the surrounding can be easily collected and can be communicated further. Now, in order, whatever the data is being collected, it is being transferred to the cloud system. Now, in order to transfer data from sensors to the cloud, a transmission medium is needed. And this transmission medium is provided by the gateway. Now, this gateway, it can be a gateway, it can be any cellular network, it can be any satellite network, it can be any wireless area network. But we should keep in mind that whenever from whichever medium we are transferring, the power consumption, range, and the bandwidth parameter should be considered. Now, next, the cloud, when the data, since there are billions of objects, billions of devices that are present in an environment, so cloud acts as a storage medium. It collects all the data and store all the data. And when the data is being collected and stored, it is then analyzed. And this analysis is done with the help of the software, analytics software. They pre-process the data, try to remove all the anomalies that are presented in the data, and once when all the anomalies has been removed, data is properly processed, they are analyzed, and the result is, whatever the result is obtained, it is transferred to the user via user interface. Now user interface can be in any form. It can be in the form of triggering alarm, it can be in the form of any notification, it can be in the form of mails or SMS, etc., etc. Can be there. So this is a brief introduction what an IoT is and how the data or other information is collected from the environment and is communicated to the user. Now let's have a look at how the applicate on the applications of IoT. IoT has spread its wing. It has a different potential, has a several potential, and it is distributed in various areas. So let's one by one discuss. Have a brief overview of it. For example, number one, home automation systems. Nowadays, wherever we are living, the devices we are using in our home, all are automated. The actions required for the automation, whenever they are programmed in such a manner that automatic action takes place, uh, and the required result is obtained. And this action takes place whenever the certain situation is arise. For example, let's take the example of any smart kettle used in a system to make any coffee or a tea. The, the kettle is designed in such a manner that whenever the particular temperature is reached, it will automatically turn off without the human intervention, and the same will be circulated to the user, or same will be circulated to whatever who have the control over it. So these devices, so all the devices that we use in our home, for the lighting system, automatically our light will get closed or will be turned off. It will when will be switched on whenever we require. Temperature control of our AC system, it can be done from any point from the remote location, and the humans can control it via any application or via any voice command. So home automation is the biggest example, is the biggest applications of our IoT. Next, offices. Nowadays, offices, the devices that are used in the offices are also an automated devices. Now they help in the productivity of the company. Now, for example, energy saving. Now, lights and the heating of the office can automatically be controlled depending upon the environment. Depending on the circle environment, whatever it is, if the temperature is low, automatically the control of the ACs will be controlled and the heat temperature will be maintained accordingly. Now, similarly, it provides the proper working environment to the employees, and since the comfortable working environment is provided to the employees, they will work hard and they will help in the productivity of your company. Now next, plus the security is also increase in security, like the cameras that are installed and like the alarm sensors, they are there. In case of any mishappening, the person can know whatever the action, person can know what is going to happen, and appropriate action can be taken place. IoT helps in retail industries also. For example, the marts and the items that are we use in the shopping marts, the RFID tag, they are tagged with the RFID sensors. So RFID tags product are there, which can be easily assessed, which can be easily which are automated and can be easily accessed by the customer. And the smart, with availability of the smart shopping cards, nowadays the shopping cards are available, and are even the credit cards, we all are sensor based, they are Wi-Fi based. Only we need to tap up in their machine, and automatically whatever the bill is generated will be cut off from our account, and so on. So the availability of the smart shopping carts and this RFID tags help the retailers as well as the consumers to communicate properly and to have a increased efficiency. Next is the healthcare system. The IoT has helped a lot in this health field, health monitoring field. The patient, the doctors can assess, they can diagnose their patient in a remote, even in a remote location. They are present in the hospital, and even the patient is in their home. They can be diagnosed by the doctor, and the appropriate actions can be taken. And nowadays the availability of, for example, the availability of the smartwatch is there. So maybe wear the wearable smartwatch, and we can know how much calories we have burned, how much we are intaking the calorie, what is our pulse rate, and what is our heartbeat, and we can know what about the health of our own body, and accordingly, depending on this, we can take our action, that what we have to control and how we have to process further. Next is the smart cities. Since the smart cities, IoT these applications, the implementation of IoT application had made our city smart. Now, example, let's take a simple example of the road traffic system. The road traffic and the signaling system. With the help of these sensors, a person can move from a destination, from one point to another point safely and in an optimized time. We can know the route, we can know the path that is being clear, that is free from the traffic, and that can be taken to reach to the destination point. Next, we can have the smart parking system. In case of the smart parking system, easily the empty slots and the empty space can be determined easily with the help of these sensors, whether the space is empty or it is being filled, and thus it prevents the person to move, it prevents the time and the cost of the person to search here and there about for their parking slot. Next, the street lighting system. In case of the street lighting also, no manual intervention is needed. Automatically, according to the environment, according to the temperature, according to the lightning of the environment, the street lighting can be turned off and turned on. The utilities, like we pay the bill, smart meters are nowadays available. We can easily pay the bills, we can easily do any payment, so it has prevented the user to stand in a long queue and then pay the bill and so on. So all this facility has made our cities smarter. Now next is the vehicles. Nowadays vehicles, as we know, the availability of the automated car. The automated car, all this is possible because of the IoT environment only. These are the cars, these are the driverless car which drive itself, and they let us know and and make person reach from one place to another. And also the availability of the sensors which are present here, they warn the drivers in case if they are sitting, they warn the drivers and the person what the object is, if in case any object is present in front of them or in any side or back. For example, when we back our car, there is nowadays sensors are available, and with the sensor we can find the distance between any obstacle and our vehicle. So all this is possible because of this sensors environment. This is sensor. Logistic and navigation also. IoT has also helped the logistics system to coordinate the supply chain by keeping all stakeholders informed of the progress of the shipment. So sensors that are present throughout, they collect information of the supply chain, communicate with other sensors and the controller, and consumer and tell the stakeholders about the each and every information, so that they can drive a decision and they can take the appropriate action at the appropriate time. Next, the work site. IoT has helped in the construction work also. It has reduces the loss of any kinds of errors that can take place. Now, the workers that work in the constructions, they wear the clothes that are the special type of clothes. These actually clothes are embedded with the sensors. These are the wearable monitors, and these sensors are actually the wearable monitors which check the hazardness of the material in whichever the construction site they are. They get to know the hazardness of the material where they are, and hence they can they can work carefully in that environment. Similarly, sensors can alert the workers if they are in the unsafe area, and hence can prevent from any type of unhappening that could happen. So these are some of the applications that we have discussed. Now, since IoT has spread its wing, we have already it has reached in every domain of life. But since everything has advantage, it will have some disadvantage and some cons also. So things or the devices that we are using can go wrong anytime and can cause a serious harm to our system, or to even they can harm our lives and the human beings also. So let's discuss some of the IoT disasters that took place in the recent years. These are some of the disasters that we will discuss, though there are more, but let's have an overview of these disasters. Number one is yours, Dallas siren attack. Now, Dallas siren attack was that Dallas city in the Texas, where all the sirens that were present for them as an emergency alarm were attacked by got captured by an attackers, and what they have done, that just all the alarms that were present in the city just blown up in the midnight, creating a situation of chaos and fear among the citizens, and all the citizens of the complete city came into the roads, and they just were under the fear, under that some attack or something is going to happen. It took around 1 week for the officials to control the situation and to normalize the. Next is the next type of attack that generally takes place is the toy as a attack. Nowadays, the toys and the games that are available to users, that generally the children use, are all embedded with the sensor devices. Now, it is basically done to educate the children automatically, so that they can gain proper education and they can entertain themselves with the help of games also. But once these embedded devices are attacked, are being hijacked, or are being intruded by some any third party, then it can be very harmful for the persons. For example, they can provide, they can, with the help of these games only, they can give the wrong education to the children who are using it, and um, they can divert their mind from the good thing to a bad thing, and anything can they can track you, they can track each and every step of the persons going from one place to another. And they can also launch the man in middle attack. Man in middle attack is simply that whatever if the communication between two devices is taking place, they will try to alter that message, and they will try to hijack that message, so that the wrong information is communicated between these two. So nowadays, this type of attack is most common, where in the name of entertainment, actually the persons are being hacked, and the wrong information is being circulated. Next is the this type of attack, that is the employees listening in. Here it's the this this has been taken place with the help of the smart speaker. Actually, these speakers were generally the giant companies like Amazon, Apple, and Google were the victim of this type of attack. These smart speakers were hacked by the hackers, and what they have done, the whatever the personal information of all the employees, of all the boardroom, of all the confidential information was disclosed and was broadcasted to each and every employee of the complete company. So, the mm, person, or we can say, so the all the confidential leakage was there in this type of attack. Next is the Mirai botnet attack. Mirai is actually a malware that turns the network devices into a remotely controlled bots. Bots are actually a part of botnet, which is a collection of various devices that are attacked by malware, and they try to stop the services of other devices. For example, there is a network which consists of good nodes also, bad nodes also. So what these the collection of all the bad nodes. This is actually known as the botnet, because they have been acquired by some malware activity. Now these malware activities or these botnets will try to implement the DOS attack. This is the most popular attack uh, that they implement. That is the denial of service attack. So that the network, whatever the service the network is providing, it will be stopped by them. Now, next is the malware bricks attack. A dubbed Silex is a type of attack that has been done by a 14-year-old child. What he has done, he has targeted all the insecure devices that are present in the environment. The main target of this type of attack to target all the insecure environment and render them unusable. Means what he has done, first of all, he has targeted the insecure environment, then he had went to its storage property, then he had removed its all firewall, entered into a network configuration, and then totally halt them and make them unusable. So these are some of the disasters that we have discussed. Along these are only few. So there are many others but these are many others attacks. But these are the main which are highlighted nowadays. So, so it's a requirement that we should know that how the security should be, what are the security solutions that are provided that should be implemented so that the nodes can be secured, and to which place we can, to what are the different things that should be secured. From this diagram we can see that the data circulates from everything. The components that we have discussed in the first slide, all the components are present and the data circulate in all this manner. So there is a need to build a security from the device to the cloud to the user interface. So each and every component in a IoT field, in a IoT network, or every component in the system should be secure. So let's start. Let's first discuss. Now let's discuss what are the different surfaces where the IoT can, where an intruder or a malicious intruder can attack and can harm the system. This we will discuss with the help of this simple diagram, a simple IoT infrastructure. Here you can see, this is a figure. In this figure we can see there is an IoT device, that is a car is present, which consists of various sensors. There is a remote control application. There is a user who controls this device with the help of its application, and whatever the communication is done between this device and the user, it is done with the control servers. Now what happened, and control servers, and via control servers, and all this information is circulated through this clouds, and clouds can be public as well as it can be a private network. It can be any private internet, a private cloud can be, and public also. And there is one more thing, that is the configuration app is also available. This the work of this configuration app is whatever the sensors, whatever the devices that are present in this vehicle will be properly configured, and will be, the firmware will be updated so that it can work properly. And this configuration information will be then circulated to control server. So this is the sample infrastructure. Now in this diagram only we will discuss what are the different surfaces where an intruder can attack. So let's have, in the first figure we can see the main the intruder has attacked on the configuration, that is the injection of bad configuration of the firmware. What he has done, the software built for the firmware or for the configuration of this sensor node of all these devices is inject with some bad information, or injects in with some bad activity, and then it is being configured, it is being circulated to this device, so the sensors that are present in this vehicle. So what happened, whatever the, suppose for example the user, he wants to give some instructions, or he wants to control some sensor, he wants to give some instruction to this device to accelerate it or to lower down the speed, but since they are not configured properly, so any mishappening can take place. So it is required that your configuration application, whatever the configuration software we are using, it should be secure. Next is the stealing of the credential. Now, the application what the user is using to control its device, it can be also be easily hacked by the hacker. Now, here from the diagram we can see, now the user is the authorized user is not having any is not having any control on the device. It has been taken by the any third person or the intruder. So whatever, now the device will act according to this intruder. So these are some of the solutions. These are some of the basic solutions and some of the security obstacles and solutions so that this type of attack can be prevented. The most basic one is the availability of the username and password. Generally what the person do, they try to use it and they forget to change the username and password. So it is required that whenever we buy any mobile device or any device is having these facilities, it should be updated, it should be their username and password should be changed immediately. Next is the availability of weak password. Generally user, what they do, they just use a simple password. We should use the password that is as complex as that. The more the complexity of the password, it will be difficult for the intruder to decode it and to get known of it. Then the facility of no account lockout. The one of the obstacles that is there is the no account lockout. No account lockout simply means that there should be the facility in our system that in case if two times we don't in case if there is a failure, two times failure, three times failure, your account or your system or your device should be totally locked out. There is the no availability of the two factor authentication. Two factor authentication simply means that not only username and password should be the only mean to enter into your system. There should be more than this, so that so that you can enter the system. For example, nowadays we are having username and password as well as the availability of the OTP system that we are using. So this is the two. In two layers we can authenticate our system. Next, the auto update servers are not secure. There is some we are having the facility, the automatic due to with the availability of the internet, the servers that are present, they can be they can be updated automatically. So we should try to stop this automation system, automatic updation system, and we should try to verify the updates firstly and then install it in our system. And the device that are updated should be transmitted with, they are generally transmitted without encryption, means the data or the software that is coming from the starting point, it is not encrypted directly. The exe file has been installed in our laptops and our system. So we should try to transmit this software, encrypted software, so that it cannot be altered by any third person or by any intruders. So these are some of the obstacles and the solutions that are provided. Now next attack surface in the same thing is the poor physical security. Though we generally focus only on the software part, our software should be proper and software should be properly protected, but the physical security is more important, like the presence of an open ports in our devices. For example, in this we can say that so for example, the control server is there and it is having number of server ports, open ports, and some of the ports are generally used, whereas other ports are open for the further requirement. But these open ports can act as an opportunity for an intruder to enter into the control system. Similarly, in case of the open device, in the second diagram we can see there are sensors, there are external ports can be in the form of USB port. They can be easily accessed by the intruder or the third party, and easily an attack can take place. So the solutions, there are now these are some of the solutions that we should try to minimize the as much we should try to include only the required external ports, or we should try to block or disable the external. In case if there is a requirement that sometimes we need for the further processing, there is a need of USB port, we try to include it. So we should, if there are not used, we should try and disable these external port and give this administrative power only to the particular person. Next, the ports are generally exposed to the UPnP protocol. Now, UPnP protocol is actually a universal plug-in-play protocol. Now, what happens in universal plug-in-play protocol? Now, this is a network protocol. It permits the network devices such as printers, internet gateways, mobile devices to seamlessly discover each other's presence on the network and establish the functional network services, so that they can share data, they can communicate, and they can entertain. So the facility or the availability of this universal plug-in play, where any device in the network can discover its presence, should be stopped. Next is the inability of the limit administrative capabilities. Now, administrative capabilities that are present should have a limited power. Means only the required or the authorized person, authorized administrator should be given all the facilities, all the capabilities of the should be given all the administrative power. Not all the persons in the who are accessing this should be provided with this power. Now, next surface in our system is the presence insecure cloud interface. Can attack. We have discussed the attacks on the devices. We have discussed the attacks on the servers. We have discussed the attack on the configuration. But the main is your private. The main is our network through which our data or through which our information is being transferred from one end to another end. So a sniffing attack can be done. A sniffing attack is simply the traffic which we are using, the traffic that is being circulated from one end to another end is being captured by a third party. So so we should try that all the clouds that are being used, the cloud interface should be properly secured. A proper security assessment to all the cloud interface should be there. Again, the password should be as complex as that, and properly a two-factor authentication is needed. Not only two-factor, if we want to include three-factor, four-factor, we can include the proper authentication services also. So these are some of the with the help of this simple infrastructure, we have discussed what are the different surfaces where attacks can is possible and what are the solutions that are present in our system. Now let's discuss that in order to implement this solution, what are the security mechanisms what are the different security mechanisms that are provided. Now we will discuss these four security mechanisms. Number one is the authentication, then trust management system, then software defined network, and then last of all we will discuss the blockchain facility. Now authentication. What is actually authentication? And authentication simply means to identify the users, an authorized user, the person who is having the actual person is given the access to the of the system. We have to identify the user or the device. For this, we have to identify the user and the devices that are present in the network and grant access only to the authorized person and non-manipulated device. Non-manipulated device means any device which is not being attacked or which is the normal device. Now this we can see this flow chart, a diagram where we have discussed the flow chart, which where with the help of this chart we can get to know what are the different different authentication schemes that can be used in our IoT system. Now, first of all is the authentication factor. In authentication factor is again is classified into identity-based authentication and the context-based authentication. In case of the identity-based authentication, we generally use hash function, symmetric cryptography, and the use of asymmetric cryptography like AES algorithm, advanced encryption system standard can be used. DES algorithm, Diffie-Hellman algorithm can be used to secure our system and to provide the identity to the person. For hash function, we can use SHA and MD5. These are more popular. Message digest function. These are most popular functions that are used. Then comes the context-aware authentication scheme. In context-aware authentication scheme, it can be on the two manner by the physical and the behavior. Any device or the user can be authenticated with the physical, like for example in the biometric. For example, we use the fingerprint, retina scan, and the hand geometry. All these things can't be changed. So we can use this. Quality of a person in order to authenticate user or any device. Now, problem with this is this: if this type of authentication, it is quite costly, and the physical presence of a person is required in this. Next is the behavioral. With the help of the behavioral activities of the person, for example, the voice recognition. So, the pitch and pitch of the voice. With the help of this quality, the proper authentication will be provided. We can know whether the person is, if the person is authorized, then his voice will be recognized, otherwise it will be not. This thing is nowadays available in smartphones also, where we can open and we can log in, enter into a system with the help of your voice. Now next is the on the basis of tokens. Authentication can be on the token based authentication or the non-token based authentication. Now in the token based authentication, a certain device is used where where the data is created, a piece of data is present and which changes every 60 seconds. For example, in the RSA device, if you nowadays in the different companies which are highly secured, they use generally RSA device for to enter to login. So what is this RSA device? The device, it consists of certain piece of information or certain piece of data which changes after every 60 seconds. And if the person it acts as a password. A person when the person writes when person enter a it's this piece of data which is the RSA, the information present in the RSA, then the login and they will check whether at that time at that duration this is being matched, means the actual data is present in this thing, then the service will be provided or the login he can enter into the system, otherwise it will not be entered. Then next is the non-token based authentication. Simply it involves the credentials, your username and the password, which can where the exchange of username and password is there. This is a non-token based authentication. Then the authentication architecture. Authentication can be distributed in a distributed manner as well as it can be in a centralized manner. Authentication procedure on the procedural base, one-way authentication, two-way authentication, and the three-way authentication. In one-way authentication, what happens in this scenario? When two parties try to communicate, it is in this scenario only the one party will authenticate itself, while the other party will remain unauthenticated. There is no need for the other party to authenticate itself. Then in the two-way authentication scheme, both the mutual authentication is required, that both parties need to authenticate, need to identify itself that they are communicating with the right person or not. Now in the three-way authentication scheme, we use generally a third person which will authenticate whether the party A and whether the party B, they are authentic or not. If they both are the actual authorized person, authorized user, then it will allow both the parties to communicate. Now this example can be studied with the help of the Kerberos. Now in the figure we can see, for example, a person A is present and he wants to communicate with the device and want to use the network service for it. Now the third party or the third person, the third object that is there, this is the key distribution center, the availability of the KDC. Now the work of this KDC is that it has the authentication server and it has the ticket granting server. These two things. The first, what he will do, the user will ask KDC to authenticate itself and provide the ticket which is known as ticket granting ticket. Now this KDC is having the key of all the users. So firstly, KDC will see whether it is the username and the password of the person of the user A is correct or not. If it is correct, then this TGT will be sent. Then this TGT will be granted by this KDC, and this TGT, that is the ticket which is provided to the user, it is in an encrypted form. Now there is a need to decrypt it. So for decrypting it and using the service of the other device, a service ticket is needed. So what they will do, again, as soon as the ticket is received by the user A, it will be again circulated to KDC, that is the key distribution center. Here the authentication server which is present on the KDC will decrypt this TGT and will provide the service ticket to user A. And once the service ticket is provided to the user A, this will be circulated, this will be given to the network or given to the another device or the server, where once the service ticket has been received, then the server will communicate with the client and the exchange of information between the client and the server can take place. So these are the different authentication schemes that we have discussed in our means these schemes can be implemented in our IoT systems. Now next is the trust management system. Now trust management system, it provides the availability, means instead of authenticating the devices, instead of providing authorizing it in the trust, we can say a communication between the two devices can be established if and only if both devices trust each other. That is, a trust is a mutual relationship between the two devices. Now, so with the help of the first, it has several advantages that this trust assessment of the is not too complex as the authentication schemes we will use in our IoT system. They are quite complex algorithms are used, and it will be like limitations to be used in our resource, as the IoT devices or the IoT system that are used, they are resource constrained devices. So the trust management system is gaining a lot of uh, it's uh, it's nowadays popular to limit to eliminate the malicious nodes or the malicious activity, to detect the malicious activity that has been used in our system. Now in the trust management system, the objective of this system is to firstly detect and eliminate all the malicious nodes that are present. Firstly, we will detect whether and then provide the secure access control. Now, this generally works in the network layer where the different nodes are present and the nodes can attack in the different manner. So, it's a need to detect what are the different nodes, what are the malicious nodes are there, and how to eliminate these nodes. So, the state of art says that we have to calculate and validate the trust values of all the participating nodes. And the trust values of all the participating nodes can be calculated with the help of direct and indirect trust. There are various other methods also, but direct trust and the indirect trust are the most popular method. In the direct trust, the two nodes will communicate directly, and they will see whether the services provided by the other node is according to its requirement or not. If it is according to its requirement, then we can say that the other device is trustworthy or not. In case of the indirect trust, instead of directly seeing the services, the uh, what the node will do, it will ask all the neighboring nodes. Suppose there is a node A, it wants to communicate with node B. So before communicating with node B, it will ask all the neighboring nodes of the node B to tell to know that how the node B is acting, and what can be the whether the node B is trustworthy, should trust or not, and if the positive reply is being received, or if the reply is according to node A, then it will communicate with this, otherwise it will reject it, will not communicate it. Now these are some of the attacks that are generally present in case of the trust management system. Number one is the bad mounting attack. In what happened in the bad mounting attack, in case of the bad mounting attack, the nodes, the malicious nodes, they try to malign the reputation of the other node. Means they will say that whether they are the good node or bad node, they will say that these nodes are not good at all, so that the other person who is asking for, in case of the indirect, who is asking from the surrounding, the reputation of these nodes will will be will be presented negatively in this bad mounting. Then comes the on-off attack. In case of the on-off attack, there are some nodes which generally works very good in the presence of someone, and then after some time they work. They just change their side. They just change their coin and work in a negative manner. So in an on-off attack, the nodes sometimes work in a good manner and sometimes work in a bad manner, and behind the back they just work in a negative manner, so it hampers the performance of the system. So these type of attack is generally detected in the with the help of this trust management system. Next is the cyber attack. Cyber attack is actually the identity attack. Here what happens, the nodes, they take the identity, they capture the identity of some another node and then try to malign the reputation of that node. So these are this is one of the security mechanism with the help of which we can secure our environment. Next is the software defined network. The software defined network, actually it is a network architecture approach where programmable switches are put between data and the control panel so that the data that is forwarding can be properly managed and can be properly manipulated. Now, it has certain advantages with the traditional. In the traditional network, actually, we are using the physical routers and the switches. Now, the use of these physical routers and the switches are quite costly. Plus, they had certain limitations. And secondly, the routers they require very high level algorithm in order to deliver the destination packet. So, this SDN has come forward as mm, mm, has this has matlab reduced, we can say this has just cut this has just of the the limitation, this has just cut off the limitations of our traditional systems. So here what happens, whenever the devices that are present, they are actually present along with the SDN controller. The SDN controller communicate with the network device and then manage the flow of packet for its configuration. Now this can be explained with the help of this second diagram. Here security is implemented in a cooperative manner. Now we can see, suppose there are a number of devices. From the figure we can see there are mobile nodes also, there is some washing machine type, and there is a camera. All these devices are connected to a particular network. These devices are connected through a controller to a network. Suppose an attacker is there which has attacked the mobile device. Now what happened, as soon as the mobile device get to know that it has been attacked, the attack message by the controller is then shared with SDN controller over TCP/IP. The attack message, the controller of the mobile device will share this attack message to all the SDN controller which are present in the network. And an open flow switch message, this will be in the message will be shared in the form of open flow switch message. And as soon as the message is shared, a program known as open flow programmable switch command will take effect, and as soon as this command will take effect, all the other controller except the mobile device which is already been hacked, all the other controllers will be prevented, will be saved by this type of attack. So SDN has overcome the various limitations of the traditional systems. Now, last of all, we have a blockchain. Blockchain is one of the most promising technology which has met the security requirement. It is actually a distributed database ledger that maintains a permanent and tamper-proof record of all the transactional data, and whatever the data is there, whatever the complete record is there, is presented, is maintained to all the nodes or all the devices that are present in a network. So it is actually a decentralized scheme, peer-to-peer network, we can say, where all nodes are having the copy of this ledger, and all copies are updated and validated simultaneously. So it has reduced the problem of single point failure. If one of the node gets disconnected, one of the node gets destroyed, the data or all the transactional details are present in the are already there. Now, the blockchain, as we are saying, the blockchain consists of number of blocks. Now, what does the block consist of? A block is divided into two parts. There is a block header, as well as the next is the second part is the transaction part. In the block header consists of all the header information about the timestamp and the hash value. With also the security that is in the blockchain is because of the availability of the strong cryptographic hash function and the public key cryptography system. So a header contains the hash value of the previous block also, and in this manner they are For example, we can see in block 1 contains all this information, then comes the block 2. Block 2 will contain the hash value of block 1, block 3 will contain the hash value of block 2, and so on. And the transaction data that is there, transaction data can be in any form. It can be any monetary transaction, it can be any health transaction, it can be in any form. Now, when the malicious, when an intruder or the third party want to change or want to alter the data that is present in the block, it will not be possible, because if we want to alter, suppose block 3, then it has to modify all the blocks that are connected to it, because the hash function of the previous block, because each one contains the hash of the previous value, then they are again hashed, and then that hash value is uh, given to another block. So it is the most secure. It is the most secure method for protecting the, for providing the security to the system. Now, this is one of the proposed scheme that how the security can be provided. For example, in the phase A, we can see there are number of things that are presented, different types of devices, different types of sensor devices are there. They are grouped together. In the phase B, all devices are grouped together. Now, for smart house, we all devices are there. For hospitals, different group is there. For another factory settings, factory things, another group is there. Now, the group consists of followers. As out of all this, these things, one of the thing is selected as a device is selected as a master, and all other things will be a follower. Master will provide key to all its followers, so that when these things want to access the block, they can easily access it. Now, in the C, we can see the different groups are formed, and all the information of the group is contained in the block. And in the group D, we can see that suppose this is a suppose in case of group F9, anything want to access or any want to enter the information to the block, then the master key is provided by the to the follower. Now, with the help of this master key, the follower master key, this all that whatever the transaction data is present, it can access the block and it can enter the data. But in case, suppose intruder, in case if any other person is there, or if any other thing or any other device want to access the block, it will not be able to access it, because the key that is provided, it is in a secured manner, and plus the hash values of all the keys are present in a chain manner. So all the previous keys are also required in this thing. So these are some of the security mechanisms that we have discussed. Though these are few, there are more mechanisms that would require more another lecture for it. So let's wind up in that, and let's have a conclusion that IoT security is a global challenge which requires a global cooperativeness. So we should try to secure our system as much as we can. So there, not a single person can secure, not a single society, not a single company can secure it. So there is a need for government, for industry, as well as the civil society to work together and to protect the devices and the data in every stage of life. So here we end our lecture. Thank you, everyone. And hello, hello, hello. Thank you. In case of hello, yes, ma'am.